So Richard, when you first saw the big airdrop scene and that whole screen was just filled with all these paratroopers coming down, as the director of that magnificent thing, what went through your mind? What did you think about it?
I wept, ma'am, if
Did you
want
really?
the truth.
Did you really?
Yes, we'd waited for so long. We'd had bad weather. We had aircraft go down on us. Not being able to take off. And you see, I'm of the particular generation that a lot of the boys who are still out in, buried in Holland are my own generation. I wasn't in that. I didn't do anything particularly dramatic at all in the war. But I know an awful lot of people who did die at that time. And I suppose the high spot of the film, although it comes quite early, has to be that drop. And when all those aircraft came over, and we'd waited for so long, and we'd planned it for weeks and weeks and weeks, and we had 19 cameras photographing it, and all those kids who were the exact age of the boys who actually dropped at Arnhem in the same battalion of the same regiment, I was just quite bowled over. Most people were. It was an extraordinary sight. As you very kindly say, it is an incredible sight on the screen. You can't believe that that number of men could be in the air at one time. I was shattered by it. I'm greatly relieved that we'd managed to get it too.
And you lived with this project for 2 years,
Yeah.
didn't you? From
Yeah.
planning stage to
Yes.
final cut.
Yes.
And I wonder, because of the nature of the film, Sir Richard, did that work for you or against you to be tied up with that kind of project for 2 years?
It's a very interesting question that. I've thought about it myself previously, and I'm inclined to think that the nature of the project in fact made it possible. That if it had been something about which, well, put it the other way, if it was a subject which was you were less involved with and you felt less deeply about, I'm not at all sure that working 6 and 7 days a week from 6 o'clock in the morning till 12 and 1 o'clock in the morning, I don't think you'd have got through. I think in a strange way one needed a sort of monastic dedication to it in a way, which one found by virtue of the subject matter.
I find the responsibility that you had in connection with this film, A Bridge Too Far, really overwhelming to this extent that, first of all that money involved,
Yes.
$26 million, and so many people, and because of the nature of the film, the high risk to loss of life.
Yes.
Did you think about that a great deal?
Yes, inevitably one did. We had great experts in terms of anything that was dangerous at all.
Did you lose anybody, or were there
No,
any injuries?
No, do you know, the incredible thing is that a picture which is so full of action and apparently so dangerous, I mean, you take the Bob Redford River crossing, I mean, we had, I admit, 6 water rescue boats, I mean, just out of camera, ready to grab anybody who went in. I think they only had to go in twice and everybody was fine. We dropped all those men from the skies. One boy sprained his ankle, one boy hurt his arm, and the one moment of real terror, as far as everybody was concerned on the movie, was that one boy fell very hard and was paralyzed absolutely for a month. And it was just dreadful. But the MO, the doctor and the regiment kept saying, don't worry, it happens. In parachute jumping, they fall awkwardly, they jar their spine, but he'll be all right. They said, and he is. He's absolutely right as rain, so we were delighted.
I must ask you about Liv Ullmann in the picture.
Yeah.
Was her part originally much larger and got cut? No, that's the way it was?
Absolutely. See, she doesn't enter the story, the battle, as it were, until 2 days before it's over. She wasn't involved. She lived on the outskirts of Arnhem. She wasn't actually involved in it at all. It was only when the British were driven further and further back that they took over her house for this auxiliary hospital, and she became involved. That is Kate de Horst's story.
Mm-hmm. And I think another comment I must make about the film is that most war pictures, if I may be permitted that genre, do have some sort of romance or sex, and you have none of that in your picture.
No. War is not really very romantic, and love and sex really have little to do with war, I think. There's a pornography in the film. It's a pornography of violence, the obscenity of violence. That's what the film is about. And the obscenity of man's inhumanity to man and the waste of human beings. That's what we're making a cri de coeur about.
Cut. Sorry.
No, we got that all on, did we?
Yes.